Only children of Reddit, what was it like growing up without a sibling? I honestly think it varies from person to person depending on your personality. I've always been very outgoing and positive, so I ended up being more able to socialize and get along with adults rather than children, which was helpful for job interviews, networking, getting into college, etc. But I think it might affect people with different personality types more negatively. A number of years back I lived with a roommate who was also an only child, and we stayed up late one night talking about how we thought that experience informed our adult selves. We landed on one commonality: we both recognized that during our youth or development our default was being alone, so any social stimulation or connection had to be sought out, compared to children with close siblings, whose default was to be often surrounded by social stimulation, and solitude had to be sought out. Where we diverged was how that reality, of being alone and always having to seek out social connection, translated into us as adults. For me, from that experience I cultivated a fear of loneliness and a need to always seek out friends or SOS. For him, he cultivated a rich alone life and developed skills to achieve and maintain contentment without always having to seek out social stimulation. Funnily enough, as the years passed I grew out of those unhealthy behaviors and developed those same skills he had, and we both, now in our early 30s, have healthy social and relationship lives. In a nutshell, it taught me the importance of solitude. I don't need anyone to pass time, being alone is just fine. Also I can be by myself in any situation and not get worried or lose it. Sure, my parents were a little restrictive, but I guess that's what happens in such homes. Still love them though. Clothes, toys and uniforms were all new and fresh. I dictated what desserts would be eaten, what cartoon show would be seen etc. But I still wish there was a sibling I could share moments with. Especially when I see my friends having heaps of stories about theirs. It was okay. It's now that I wish I had had one. I believe having siblings teaches you a lot about living with others and sharing all that good stuff. Those things really do matter. I sometimes catch myself expecting to have things my way when I have no real reason to. I also had divorced parents. Don't get me started on that. You get very comfortable being alone. I do things now like eat out and go to concerts by myself and didn't even realize it was weird for the longest time. You gain a huge sense of independence, because you don't have siblings to hold your hand or teach you anything. I truly think I'd be an entirely different person if I had siblings. One thing you might not expect is that, and maybe this has only been my experience, as an only child you are really good at socializing with adults and superiors. It's like night and day between conversations with older people and conversations with people my age. The environment in which you grew up is 100% adult and 0% contemporaries, so I think that makes a big difference over time. Overall I'd rather have a sibling. I wouldn't say I'm lonely, but at times I feel lonely, and having no one else with such a common experience not only exacerbates that but is probably a root cause. I loved it. Still enjoy being alone a great deal and don't deal well in groups or with conflict. I was always appalled when my friends fought with their brothers and sisters. Not sure if having a sibling would have, significantly, changed those character traits. It feels like that's just me. My parents often asked me if I didn't miss having a little brother or sister, but I wasn't interested, and they were fine with having just me. I still never feel like I missed out. That being said, I totally understand other people growing up alone didn't like it, and I feel kinda weird for not caring about it. Winking smiley. I was never lonely. I am so grateful I was an only child. My family was not dirt poor, but we were not well off either. If I had a sibling there is no way I would have been able to take dance, karate, or swim. I always had privacy, which I still love and value. So much of my educational success is directly related to my parents having the time to one-on-one tutor me anytime I needed. And no, I was not lonely. I had cousins, neighbors, and activities. And you know what, having a sibling doesn't mean you're never lonely. Siblings fight, sometimes they don't want to play together. Having a sibling does not guarantee you a lifelong BFF and the power of never being lonely. Some siblings don't even like each other. I was an only child and I don't have any memories of sitting alone crying, and wishing I had someone to play with. I was too busy playing with the neighborhood kids, having play dates, and having practices and family vacations to ever feel like I was missing out on something. Super lonely. I played alone, ate alone. I had two options. Either become very outgoing and extroverted or homely and introvert. I chose the second. It's depressing and I'm sick of it. All lonely children need is someone to play with and share moments with. Parents can do only so much. They just can't match that level of intimateness and love siblings share. It's a flipping blessing. Sure, I've seen some stories of the kids who are totally in sync and who have become best friends. I've also witnessed horrible sibling duos where one turns out to be a whiny ass and the other a spoiled rotten brat. Plus, I'm an introvert, and I quite like having my quiet space. Not worrying about fighting with a sibling for our parents' attention is also incredibly nice. To this day, I don't get how siblings continue to get along. Edit, read a lot of stuff saying that only children are very lonely. What? I haven't experienced this sort of loneliness that everybody's describing. Mother and 2 cats are good enough for me. Sure, it's nice to get out once in a while and chat a bit, but I prefer being home alone with my fluffy cats. Ultimately, I'd pin the loneliness factor on whether or not your kid turns out to be an introvert or an extrovert, but that's just my guess. My nephew is 10 and an only child. Every time I visit their home he bombards me with board games and stories that he can't share with anyone. Sure, his parents are there to give him attention, but millennial things like his favorite YouTuber, latest Pokemon game, or his favorite tale song I'm the only one that can relate and he can talk to about. I'm still in college and a bit of a nerd. He excels in school because his mom is hands-on when it comes to academics, but I'm afraid he's getting all the pressure from being an only child. He prefers playing with adults because he doesn't know how to handle playing with kids his age, but I think now he's starting to gain some friends in school. He used to also hate losing to the point of cheating just to win because he's so used to getting his way when playing with adults. I try to introduce him to new video games and do normal kid things whenever I visit them. He once subtly asked for a sibling, but his parents said having one child is easier in dividing legal matters and no children fights. Honestly, it's really hard to compare it with growing up with a sibling because that experience is so totally alien to us only children. Personally though, it was a bit lonely, but it got better. When I was younger my school friends and I all lived pretty far apart from each other, so we didn't get to hang out that much. I made friends with kids from my village, yes, I live in a village, and we'd go out exploring and picking flowers and all that wholesome kid stuff. My experience is probably different though because I'm a white-looking Eurasian living in Asia, so I was always a bit of an outsider to the Asian kids my age. Even in dance class or scouts I never felt truly included. As I grew up, and technology advanced, I could go places on my own and hang out with my friends more, and talk online and stuff, so I haven't felt lonely in a long time. As an extrovert, I never had problems making friends or interacting with other kids, so I don't think me not having a sibling affected me in that regard. Happy smiley. Growing up was amazing. I had no cousins either, so I was the only kid of the whole family. I literally got everything I ever wanted: new Air Max, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive. It was amazing. I got a PlayStation on the day of release too, so much fun. My parents were cool, too. Didn't want me to do anything I didn't want to, haha. No sports for me. Then reality kicks in. You're 28, obese because your parents were so overprotective. They didn't want you to do sports or never encouraged you to do 8vg actually. Because of my weight, I was never confident and kept myself to myself. I'm 34 and have managed to get my shite together. I lost all my weight, exercise daily, eat well. I put myself through an open university course and am in the process of changing jobs. My confidence came back when I lost weight, so made a ton on new friends and got married. Thing is, because of the way I was brought up, I became so selfish and don't want kids, so my blood and name end with me. So growing up it was ace, because I had everything I wanted. But in reality, looking back, it was not good. My friend finds his younger brother annoying, but I find him adorable. I always think that if I had a sibling, I would never hate him or her. I think it's built in that we'll all find our parents and siblings embarrassing. Mostly because they know the real us. Not the facade we often put on when we go to school. They could let loose all our secrets at any time. Pretty great. My friends all had siblings, and when I saw how much they fought and screamed at each other all the time, I was so relieved when I went home after playing with them that I had peace and quiet to myself and nobody hassling me or trying to steal my stuff or kick or punch me just for the hell of it. The only time I ever wished that maybe I wanted a sibling was when I was a teenager, and I kind of wished I had an older sister to borrow clothes and makeup from. And now as an adult and I see the drama that my husband has with his sister, I'm glad my immediate family is small and relatively drama-free. good in some ways, bad in others. Sorry if this is disjointed. I'm extremely introverted, so it was really awesome having my own room, and lots of time to myself. All my toys were mine, all my books were mine. If I didn't want to interact much, I didn't have to. When I wanted my parents' attention, I had it. Was also an only grandchild on one side, so yeah, I was spoiled. One difference I noticed even as a child is that I was allowed to be sick or well on my own time. My friends with siblings sometimes had to stay home if their sibling was sick, or forced to go out when no longer contagious or feverish because their siblings had to go out. I could do just about any activities I wanted, and quit what I hated. Scheduling wasn't an issue, and wasn't kept in a sport just because that's what a sibling wanted to do. I was also homeschooled for elementary school. A side effect was that until very recently, I got along much better with my elders than with my peers. I was really into and good at older people hobbies like knitting and scrapbooking. My vocabulary was out the arse, to the point where I got bullied for it when I attended middle school. Because there was only me, my parents are overprotective to this day. Very helicopter, want to know everything and be very involved in my life. Sometimes this is great, sometimes it's not. I am an only child. It was a little bit of a lonely life. I had older cousins, but at the time the age difference was too much to do things with them. I never had many friends. I never connected with kids my age for some reason. I don't know if it had to do with being an only child or not. After graduating college and getting out and meeting people, it's gotten better. I'm an old soul, so all my friends are older. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with growing up alone with older parents or not. It was great, got to have my space and time, not force like my friends to play with my sibling. Now, if I had grown up in a rural area, I think it would have sucked. You become very good at entertaining yourself. For me it was difficult to share with others and I did become selfish. I also spent a lot of time with my mom and hanging out with older adults. However, growing up an only child allowed me to form very strong friendships. I hated it. It was really lonely. I also had no step-siblings or cousins. I kind of dreaded family vacations and I didn't spend a lot of time at home. As soon as I learned to ride a bike I was pretty much always either outside playing with the neighborhood kids or at friends' houses. When I got a driver's license my mom and stepdad wouldn't see me for days sometimes. All the pressure of being successful, giving your parents grandkids, and taking care of your parents when they get old falls on you. I know some people think not having to share a room or toys and your parents having more money to spend on you might be a good thing, but honestly I feel like it didn't really prepare me for having to learn as an adult that you don't always get your way in life. 1 or 10. Would not recommend. My parents let me go to a Chevy dealership and pick out a Camaro I liked. That was one perk of being an only child. Honestly I'd trade a lot for a sibling. The closest thing I have is my cousin that just moved to the other side of the country. Being an only child is lonely sometimes and I wish I wasn't one. I ended up getting really good at entertaining myself. I was very imaginative and still to this day, feel like I would be just fine if I was the only person on the planet. Though it sounds really sad when typing it out. Thank you for watching and listening to this video. Please share your own stories, experiences and comments below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you liked the video. Have you got a suggestion? Write it below. See you next time. Bye.